Now, following the success of its first series, viewers can now look forward to more exciting adventures as the program called Shoreline explores nearly 3,000 kilometers of South African coastline, stretching from the desert border with Namibia onto the Atlantic coast, southwards towards the tip of Africa, then north towards the border of Mozambique, on the Indian Ocean. Now, this is all can be seen on SABC3 starting in the month of September, Sundays at 6 p.m. We have with us in the studio this morning anchor Peter Butler and co-presenter New Jack, his dog, who's so calm in the moment. I can't believe it. But Peter, so good to have you. Good morning.
Great, thank you. Thank you for having us.
The first season was a resounding success. Why do you think it was so popular, this show? I mean, it hasn't just gone South African, it's gone internationally as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have one of the most beautiful coasts in the world,
yeah.
You know, and people come from far and wide, from all over the world, tourists, you know, to come and experience the South African coast and South Africa in general. And I mean, even, you know, our own people are astounded when they see some of these places. Where are these places, they say?
Why haven't we seen them? Why haven't we been there?
Why haven't we been there? Yeah, I think, you know, it takes a little bit of courage, you know, to go out there. But then again, you know, some of those places are very hard to get to also.
Very, very true.
You know, so it's easier said than done.
So what can people expect from the second series of Shoreline?
Well, I'd like to say more of the same, but... yeah, but better. You know, what's the point of doing a second series if it's not going to be better? So it definitely is. It's a step up from the first, which, as you pointed out, was brilliant to begin with.
Indeed.
You know, and I'm not being vain saying that.
No, you can be. You may be.
No, what I mean is, you know, it's a huge group effort. Lots of people worked on the production, from the writers to the director to our photographer. I mean, we have some of the best technical people in the country, you know, contributed to the show. Audio Wires, Grant Wells, Chris Lotz, our cameraman. I think he's one of the best Steadicam operators we have in the country. You know, he's multi-award winning. And Sinette Ulifield, who directs it. So there's a lot of very good sensibility, you know, and then we have a team of experts, people who know exactly what they're talking about. You know, and for me, it's been a joyride.
How long does it take to put a show like this together?
Well, it takes longer than one might think. You know, the first series we shot for about 13 months, principal photography, 13 months, which is over a year. And then the second one we managed to knock off in a shorter period. We got it down in about 9 months. You know, there was a lot of material, more than we needed after the first series. So, you know, and also the machine became more oiled and everybody knew each other and we had the dynamics had grown. So we were able to knock it off in a shorter period of time.
Now, you say that obviously there are a lot of people that watch this show and then they're astounded as to where these places are, why haven't we seen them? Were there moments like that for you while recording either season 1 or 2?
Absolutely.
Where you thought, wow.
Yeah, every step of the way, you know. Even places that you thought... I mean, I'm from Cape Town, all right? I'm a Cape Townian. I thought I knew my city. All right, I knew my city because I've been traversing it all my life since I was a little boy. I've always been an outdoorsy kind of guy. Always walked with animals, with dogs in particular. Loved the outdoors. So I thought I knew my city. But, you know, doing this show and discovering new things in Cape Town and the peninsula and in and around Cape Town, it was a real education. I mean, I myself was gobsmacked many times, you know, at what's out there. How many Cape Townians haven't been up Table Mountain, you know? The majority, you'll be surprised, a vast majority, yeah.
If you were to highlight one of your most epic moments, I mean, I know that there was one scene where you guys witnessed the exodus of massive amounts of crayfish, or krief, if you will.
Right.
Because of the red tide. Tell us about that experience.
Well, that was quite a, you know, an experience of mixed feelings, if I can put it that way. We were shooting another insert, another story, not far from Lambert's Bay. Maybe 100 k's from Lambert's Bay when we got word of this walkout. And it's a phenomenon, natural phenomenon. It occurs every year, apparently, on different scales, you know? But this was quite a big one. And we were close by to Elands Bay where it actually happened. So we dropped everything and raced out there. And when we arrived, you know, it was just in the nick of time because it was in the throes of, you know, of the incident, of the event.
Yeah.
And it's sad, you know, to see, it's always sad to see death and carnage, you know. But as I said, it's a natural phenomenon. So, you know, as human beings, it's difficult to resist not getting involved or imposing our own, you know, human emotions on these things. But, you know, it's nature's rhythms. Nature has its own way of doing things. But, you know, as I commented in that, at the end of that segment, in this instance, you know, one can't help feeling that it's not an entirely bad thing, human intervention, you know, that mankind, that we as, you know, are stepping in and trying to help. Because the fact of the matter is, you know, there's thousands upon thousands of rock lobster that were rescued that day, were then taken, washed off at a nearby fishery and then re-released into the ocean further down, where the red tide was less severe. But the fact of the matter is, when that had been done before, in previous years, they tagged the lobster before they returned them to the ocean. 2 or 3 weeks later, that same lobster walk out of the ocean in the same place where they walked out. So they literally make their way back to their own stomping ground, and, you know, the cycle repeats itself.
Unfortunately, you were there to capture it, and we actually have a clip of this that we'd like to show as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd like to share with the audience. So, yeah, take a look at that.
The Benguela Current is a very productive marine ecosystem. Coastal upwelling brings massive amounts of nutrients into the water. Combined with sunlight, the microalgae found in the water can sometimes multiply on a grand scale, depleting the water of oxygen and depriving other marine creatures that depend on the vital gas, in a phenomenon we refer to as a red tide, the result of which we see here today.
Starved of oxygen, marine species are in effect suffocated in their watery home. Fish have nowhere to go, but for species with legs, there is one desperate option left: walking up onto the beach, in a phenomenon known as a walkout. And this one at Elands Bay on the west coast was enormous. Entire populations of lobster driven into the eager beaks of seagulls by the deadly tide.
It is such impactful stories, such as you've just seen, that you can expect to see on Shoreline. Absolutely amazing. And thank you and your team for taking the journey to bring us this absolutely amazing content.
Oh, believe me, it's our pleasure.
Thank you very much. We'll talk about later on. I mean, you see New Jack is sitting there all calm. He's been quite an important part of this journey as well, because he is Peter's trusted sidekick. We'll talk about him a bit later on. But right now, let's see what you can do in South Africa. What other places out there that you haven't really explored? We'd like to find out about that. Liesl and Graham have the latest for us.